3 o'clock tip tomorrow at on Saturday, and the Shockers will be prepared. We're about to practice here in about an hour. You'll see some guys out there. They're members of the free throw club, so they have to show up a little earlier. But we're it's good to be at home. So we're excited, especially again 4 of your first 6 on the road, and then 5 of your next 7 are at home, and so this is game number 2 for us during that 7-game stretch. So we're excited to play. Well above my pay grade. There have been discussions, but it doesn't filter this low. They don't get it down to me unless decisions are made. But I know there's been discussions about safety and making sure that everything's okay. The great thing is, one, as my old boss used to say at Baylor, is like we play indoors, and I believe they still have heat. And then number 2, Kansas is really equipped in order for a situation like this. So from my understanding, there's not going to be much in the way of precipitation. There's going to be a lot of snow, and I think the roads will be clear and it'll be cold, but I don't think it'll be cold indoors. I don't think so. I think it's a game, and it's the next one on the schedule, and it's really important. But I think everybody's aware of like the teams that are picked at the top of the conference. I believe Memphis was picked as the preseason winner. I honestly don't know. I don't remember, but my guess is they were either 1 or 2, and I think players are aware of it. But I think once a season starts, like you're aware of that stuff in October, but I think once a season starts, it's just like, all right, who's next, and well, what's the challenge, and this will be a challenge. So a number of things. One, they're really good defensively. I mean, they're top 40 at just causing steals and have the ability to really allow their defense to create offense. They're top 40 offensive rebounding team, and so they can keep possessions extended. And so at the end of the day, well, from a coaching perspective, you're always trying to win the possession battle, and the possession battle is won via rebounding and turnovers, and you need to do a good job there. And I think the other thing that they adapt during the game. During the course of the game, you can kind of see them smell blood in the water. And they can kind of go through and they can begin to pick on somebody if they think there's a little bit of attentiveness and a lack of aggression. And that's really impressive. Like the fact that they can sniff that stuff out and then they really attack it well. So you have to have all 5 players play really well in order to give yourself a chance in a game like this. I do. I think if you go back to East Carolina, they hadn't won a game if they were out rebounded. Now Memphis has won some games when they've been out rebounded, but you do have to be able to control the glass. I mean, we're a top 5 team in the country via Kim Palm today at offensive rebounding, and I think they're 41st. And so it's going to be a battle very similar to UAB. Like, can we keep them off the glass? The thing that's different is ball security for UAB and us was at a premium, and we both did a pretty good job of it, especially as it relates to the conference. But their ability to cause turnovers, thus allow easy opportunities for them in transition, is kind of a separator. And so if you remember anything about the UAB game, that first half, we were a disaster at being able to handle some of their pressure. So I think we've grown quite a bit. We understand formations that are involved and need to do a really good job of being able to handle their pressure just because it leads to really easy offense for those guys. Yeah, I tell you, they got a number of them. I think Aaron Bradshaw is a person that most people talk about. And, given the fact that similar to Devin Williams at FAU, he has the ability to not only make threes, but can really protect the rim. And we struggled against that with FAU. And so when you have a guy like that who can stretch it on the perimeter, has terrific length, does a phenomenal job at rim protection, I think that has caused us some problems. Again, we're not the greatest finishing team in the world. And so when you have a rim protector of that nature, you almost have to think, spray it out. Now, their convergence on the ball is as good as I've seen in this league. And so they don't allow you to get to the rim at a really significant rate. And then when you also think about it, their convergence to the ball allows them to be the number one three-point defense team in this league. They're holding teams, I believe, 24%. And so if you're unable to get to the rim on account of an elite shot blocker, and then at the same time their convergence on the closeouts allow you to put it down, now you're kind of at a quandary about where the shot making is coming from. And so, we need to do a good job of getting paint touches and then being able to spray out. And I thought there were some ECU. I thought there were some really good ball movements, moments, and that needs to be recreated tomorrow afternoon. If I have to, absolutely. Like, you need to make sure that fans are there. I wish I had a big Texas-sized truck. I'd be happy to do it, but I have a 4x4, and so I don't mind using it. And especially like to give you an idea. I mean, this morning I got here at 5:45, and when I come, usually nobody's here, and so it's good, and just try to clear a little bit of the runway so that people can drive in the parking lot. So if you show up at 5:45, it's a good possibility that I'll be out there.
This time of the year where you've got a lot of data on teams, how much do you rely on the data versus what the film tells you?
More so your eyes. I think the data can be tricky. No offense to Synergy, they do a good job, but I'll watch something and they'll say, "Hey, zone," and let's watch Wichita State zone, and I'm like, we haven't played any. And you'll see them qualify things and quantify things that you understand just don't necessarily measure up. But all that to say, they can say a team is poor in a particular area, and it's just like, but they're not. And you do rely on your eyes, but I will tell you that the data has to confirm your eyes and not vice versa.
So far, how would you grade the team's preparation, kind of short term from the ECU game?
I don't know. You have to ask me after today. Yesterday was a film session. We have what we reference as a stay ready group. So if you don't play 10 minutes, you come in and you work out the following day. We work you out, and you go through reps and do things. But the guys that played north of 10 minutes, they haven't. So they didn't work out yesterday. So today's basically a one-day prep.
So with Kenyon moving up in conference, presumably I guess facing bigger defenders, better defenders, why has he been able to maintain his great shooting, his efficiency even through this transition?
He doesn't need much in the way of space. I remember they used to call Larry Bird the master of the half inch, and if you gave him half an inch, it was too much. And I would tell you that he just doesn't need much space, and he can navigate it pretty well. You saw, mentioned Giovanni earlier, just him jumping out off of a pick and roll, and he goes around him and is able to finish a layup over ECU's other big. And so all that to say that he knows how to navigate space, and he's quick enough on account of his size that he's low enough to the ground that he can kind of be a little bit more. He's got a quicker twitch than a big does. And so those split-second reads that you have to make, he does a good job of it. But the value of KG is he just doesn't need much space.
Most of the games so far in conference have been pretty tight. How big of a factor do you think the crowd could be in this one?
Crowd is huge. I just think if you go and look at Wichita State's home court winning advantage over the years, let's say since 2012. It ranks as one of the highest in the country, and obviously there were a number of people following a really good teams that were here. But I think that you can. I think what a crowd does is they're engaged, rather than the passive fan. Not shouldn't say passive fan, the fan who's sitting there in their living room. They're just not as engaged. And then I also think that there is a momentum that happens, especially with young people, and they can kind of get up in the moment, and it works both ways. It works as a vice a lot of times for the opposition, and it works as an energizer for the home team. And you kind of have to be able to deal with both. I think emotions get you beat more than they actually help, and so you still have to be able to maintain the poise. But I do think that crowds factor in. Not only, I know a number of studies have been done, not only on officials, because sometimes us as coaches just don't have a whole much of influence. I think crowds a lot of time do, but I think a lot of times they can throw, give a boost to a team when they really, really need one. So college basketball college basketball is the greatest sport in the world. I know from an NCAA tournament perspective, it's the second most watched behind the World Cup. Surpasses the Super Bowl in regards to number of eyes that get on this thing. But what makes it special is the crowds, and I'm hoping that students will get out in the snow for a couple hours tomorrow. I actually hope the snow bypasses us, but if the snow happens to land, I hope they're able to come in, and I enjoy what's going to be a really good basketball game, because it is the crowd that makes college basketball special.
The last couple games you've had Will coming off the bench. He's played really well off the bench. Talk about the humility it takes from his point to come off the bench and just the spark he provides.
Oh, earlier in the year, he was just getting in a lot of foul trouble, and then we had the DePaul game where he didn't play, and just as he said over there, the next game we turned around when we played Wofford, brought him off the bench, and he said, I really enjoyed that. He was getting into some early foul trouble. You get one, you got to get pulled pretty quickly, and it doesn't allow you to get in much of a flow. I think when you have guys who just care about the team and they care about impacting winning and helping the team, Will is that guy. As I mentioned before, I think I told y'all this, the number of players, there's 5,500 college basketball players. The number of players who can score 8 points in a game is somewhere probably around 2,500, 3,000, about half of the players in college basketball. And the number of players who can get 8 offensive rebounds in a game is less than 25, in my opinion. And to know that you're not losing anything when he comes in, he's going to be able to give you. I mean, he's the best offensive rebounder in our league, and he's one of the best in the country from a retrieval standpoint. So to know that a guy is that elite at doing something and says, listen, but this is what is best for the team. I've said this before. Craig Porter, when I first got here, said, whatever you do, don't read social media. And I think Will, he said, when he mentioned it, he says, plus we'll win the jump ball. And I said, you're listening too much to other people here, bro. The number of people who come up to me in Dillon's and say, have you ever thought about jumping so-and-so after our first 8 games? Like that, I was like, I mean, come on now. We're on the 21st person who's told me this. But the fact that it was such a big deal, and I think he is so mindful about, I think he's gotten better at just not caring about people's perceptions, because you got to eventually get there when you're in the public and play sports. But he really does care about the significance of every possession and the importance of it, and like, what are the things I need to do in order to win it. And you go back to, what were 2 really good road wins for us at Northern Iowa, at South Florida. He's the offensive rebound, put it in off the glass. Go back to UAB. I ended up watching some of the UAB game earlier this morning, and he did the same. And I just think he impacts winning because he cares about impacting winning. Yeah, you have to care about playing the entire game. There's a lot of players that only care about playing half of it, and it's the half when the ball's got the possibility to be in their hands, and they don't care about the other half. He cares about the other half to a high degree, and he'll tell you that, right? We've seen it notated on his shoes before, how, my goal is to steal your joy. And the joy that you get from watching the basketball go in the hoop, I would like to be a hindrance and an obstacle in order to see that happening. But what he understands, though, I don't think you'll ever win if you hate losing more than you like winning. And not that that isn't a good attribute for a competitor, but at some point you're gonna have to enjoy winning and bringing joy to other people because you're giving away your gift. Gifts are meant to be given away, and if you don't give them away, you're wasting days. And I'm not here to waste days, and our players aren't here to waste days. So his gift is being able to still other people's joy, but at the same time, it provides joy to his teammates. You can watch us stand up pretty enthusiastically on a number of plays that Karan Boyd makes defensively. And he's a guy that cares about the entire basketball game, but he's also wired in such a way as I realize this benefit of taking something from them is bringing us a reward, and I think we do a pretty good job of acknowledging that. And I think our team understands the value that he brings. And, if you've seen recently, he doesn't come out much because his effort is sustainable on account of his stamina.
So, Kenyon, were you prepared for the number of tough shots that he makes? For really good shooters, I think he takes shots that we would say, maybe that's not a good shot. For him, he just makes them. Were you prepared for that? Have you had to adjust your thinking about what's a good shot and a bad shot for him at all?
It varies person to person. It has a lot to do with time and score. So there's more than just good shot, bad shot. I tell the players this when we first get here. I don't tell you what shots to shoot. You tell me. And we don't put limits on guys, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to produce more than a point per possession. So we keep track of every single shot you take during 5-on-5 action. We have some other metrics that we use from a shooting perspective in order to let us know if you get a green light or a red light or a yellow light. The drill is actually called red light, green light, and we have a number of those that you've got to be able to do this within this certain period of time in order for us to trust you in order to take shots. Then at the end, again, I don't tell them what shots to shoot, they tell us. And we keep track of it. And if you can make, I know some people are anti-middle game. If you can produce more than a point per possession on middle game shots, we'll let you do it. If you don't produce more than a point per possession, then we're not going to take that shot. So there's not a place on the floor where he's not producing more than a point per possession. So he's got a green light. And, man, I'm fortunate to, Big 12's all-time leading scorer who Owen mentioned the other day prior to Buddy Hield passing him. I mean, I've been fortunate to coach some really gifted scorers. Lace Darius Dunn, Pierre Jackson was a small guard for us who was just dynamic. Tweety Carter was another dynamic. He's the all-time leading scorer in high school basketball. And then Max Asmus, just coaching him, led the country in scoring his sophomore year, and I saw the shots. And there is a certain framework and liberty, but I know the work that they put in behind the scenes. And then I watch it translate in front of our eyes. And so it's really not, I really don't think much of it. Like, I think players need to play with a certain level of freedom. I've always thought that if a player ever looks over at a coach after he shoots the ball, like, that coach is not doing his job. This should all be covered behind closed doors in practice and in film sessions about what's a good shot and what isn't. There's nothing worse in my mind from a player's confidence if they look over and the coach is like, doing that, because they're not going to be able to make that adjustment quickly during the middle of a game. And so I think this all gets handled behind closed doors, and it gets covered in film. And to Kenyon's credit, he plays with a lot of confidence. And there's really not been a time over there where I've said, oh, now there's been one or two times, and you kind of keep it internal and you don't let the players see it. But just the work he puts in, he's a big time shot maker. I mean, I don't think of it that way, you know. I mean, we've been able to win the last. What have we won? 2 of 5. So you know, I mean, we've won 2, they've won 3. Yeah, I just think of it as another game. Thanks, guys.